You're listening to How I Met Your Monster, a podcast that explores the introductions to your favorite movie monsters. My name's Zach.
I'm Danny.
And I'm Casey.
And together we dive into the world of horror to find out how filmmakers have introduced us to our favorite monsters time and time again. This is How I Met Your Monster.
Boss, you opened it. We came.
I met him 15 years ago. I was told there was nothing left.
Explorers in the further regions of experience. Demons to some, angels to others.
Call you Meatloaf! Surprise, Sydney.
Hello and welcome to How I Met Your Monster, the show where we discuss the introductions to your favorite movie monsters. I'm Zach.
I'm Danny.
And I'm Casey.
And today is all about Final Girls.
Because we had to switch movies last minute.
Yeah, I remember, this is my second viewing, and I remember really liking it the first time. And then this time I was like, okay, it's all right. But then I was like, yeah, I must not be in the mindset because I wanted to watch the other movie.
Yeah,
It's not available.
I watched this one right after it came out.
Mm-hmm.
And, like 6 years ago or 7 years ago. So when you mentioned it, I was like, oh yeah, I mean, that was 6 years ago. I didn't like it, but I don't remember why. So I was like, things can change, whatever. So I went into it with an open mind. And then when it was over, I was like, yeah, I still don't really know why I don't like it. I just don't like it.
Huh. What is this, like the performances or like the...
I don't know. I think it's dumb, maybe. I know that when we're talking about a movie where people go through a movie theater screen and end up inside of a movie, I can't really say that there are plot holes in this movie because, well, that's...
There was a literal hole in the plot of the movie because there was a hole in the movie screen.
So
when she cut it open.
I kept finding myself getting angry every time they would say that the movie would be over after the guy was killed because technically that van went by twice. So technically that already happened twice.
Yeah.
So are you saying like it doesn't make sense logically because if they're in the movie, but it keeps repeating itself, then they're not necessarily in the movie. They're just kind of in.
Well, because they're saying that they'll be able to leave and go home at the end when Billy is murdered by Paula, which has already happened twice because the van has gone by twice, which means the movie has started over twice.
Well, are they like in the movie for, because there's never really any explanation on like how they got in the movie or like, even when you get to the ending, it's like, okay, they actually were in it, but then wait, now they're just in the sequel. So they're not really back in the real world. And so like, I wonder if the whole reason they were in there for some reason is for her to have this experience with her mom. Yeah. And so like the movie won't continue until she gets in and changes everything.
Yeah. The power of love
sure
created a manifestation of grief, and she just kind of pulled everyone along for the ride because they were just like in any movie, when you're the audience, you bought a ticket, you're going to experience the movie. So it was inevitable for them to experience her grief. How she was able to create this world, that's a good question.
I thought that it was funny because if I had gone into this movie and maybe missed the first 10 minutes where the mom dies and stuff like that and not heard them say that was her mom, boy, I would have thought that they were lesbians.
Well, that's like the point of the movie is that it's her mom.
I'm aware of that, but their interactions and shit are very... There's sexual tension. Yes, there is sexual tension between them. Oh, fuck yeah, dude. Yes, absolutely.
I want in the world of being John Malkovich, I want to jump into Casey's head while watching this to interpret it the way you did. Dude. Where it's like this lesbian love story of incest.
No, it was
fantasy worlds and loops.
There was sexual tension. They were they acted like lovers.
Man.
Well, now I want to go back and watch it. And
You've been watching too much
missed it.
Pornhub, Casey.
I mean, like Stepsister isn't in my search, but whatever. You know, stepsisters, two stepsisters. No, not stepmom either.
Just never mind. I was about to cross a line.
So so you take another movie where there's a mom and a daughter, and you just like didn't know. I guess I just didn't see it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm just a fucking pervert.
Isn't there a movie where like they don't realize they're related? What is that? What am I thinking of?
Is it a mother and a daughter?
Back to the Future.
Oh, that's a good one.
Well,
yeah, I can't think of the movie I'm thinking of. So let's say Back to the Future.
Well, Casey, I guess I understand what you're saying. Like towards the end, when she's like doing her little dance to bring
no, not even that.
she has to,
Billy Murphy like
open her
even
shirt.
though that was a little,
you know what I mean? And she's like kind of like dancing and then like looking at her and like everything. And I guess I could see that, but
so when they're just like, she doesn't realize who she is and they're just talking, and Nancy like puts her arms around Max and she's like says something about her like being her only like real friend, and then she like puts her head on her shoulder, and I don't know, it's very gay.
Well, also, I mean, I guess I could see that. I didn't pick up on it.
A hug and a shoulder to cry on. It's so gay.
Boo-boo. Like, no.
What a bunch of pervs.
No, it's so like, trust me.
I didn't read it like that, or at least I didn't see it like that when I was watching it. But I mean, I guess a lot of their conversations do have to do with like sex, so I could see why that could too. Sort of.
But they just, I don't know. It's not like, I was really close with my mom. My mom's like my best friend, but never acted like that with each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just saying.
Well, I mean,
my mom was the star of a classic 80s horror movie, and we also did not act like that.
Well, going back to your point about like they talk about sex a lot, I did like that, how like in the real world when she was alive, she was like talking about her boyfriends and stuff.
Yeah.
And the daughter was like helping her. And then when they get into the movie, it's like the same thing, but just like amplified.
And she even says that.
It would have been interesting.
Yeah.
It would have been interesting to see. I mean, it would have been a different movie. But if in the movie world, maybe like, I don't know how you would get away with this, but like the longer they're there, maybe you start to see more of like the actual mom sort of bleeding through. So like she actually is kind of like getting some insight, but I guess that really wouldn't logically make sense.
No, but I mean, well, again, they entered this movie through a hole in a TV screen.
Yeah.
But
well, I mean, you do get that a little bit because as the movie goes on, she
say.
starts to like sense. Yeah, she starts to sense like
says,
something is different.
She said,
here.
"You're my mom, and you, blah blah blah, and you had a girl, and yada yada yada." But before all that,
that's true.
Lesbian stuff.
Before we get too deep into this movie, let's take a few minutes and talk about some horror content that we've watched.
Sure.
No.
Oh.
Okay.
All right. Moving on.
Well, Casey, I will start because I'm excited to tell you this. I watched episodes 1 and 2 of The Boys.
Oh, did you?
Season 1.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that's okay. The first season's amazing.
Holy shit. It's so good.
It's so good.
And I was like, I found myself laughing. I found myself being super pissed off.
Yes.
I found myself like just enjoying the violence. Jack Quaid is great.
Oh, he's so good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, it's so good. And the guy who's like, I don't know, he introduces himself as the FBI agent to get
the Carl
You're
Urban
talking about
character.
Butcher?
Carl
Urban.
Yeah, Butcher. I like him. He's good.
Oh, he's amazing. Carl Urban was born to play that role.
Oh, okay.
Just wait. It's so good. Yeah.
So that's what I watched. What about you guys?
I watched the 4th episode of the new season of The Boys. So good. The second season was good, but this season so far is like mind-blowing. It's amazing. And then I watched Come to Daddy, which it was not a horror movie.
Okay.
Oh, really?
No. I mean, there's blood and stuff, but it's not like, there was no part of me that was like, this is scary at all.
Yeah.
Which I don't get scared easily anyway, but it was it was more like an action.
Oh, really?
I don't know, but I can't even, because it wasn't even like that. It was just like, some guy got mad about some stuff and killed some people, and
like a drama thriller.
Is Daddy a hottie?
No.
Oh.
Is that no to both of us?
No.
It was not a dramatic thriller, and no, Daddy was not hot.
I can't tell what genre it is, to be honest with you. It is not what I thought it was going to be at all, which is fine, but then it was just not horrific enough for me.
Okay.
Either.
Okay.
Also, started watching this documentary series called Keeper of the Ashes, which is actually about that Girl Scout murder in Oklahoma that I talked about in the last episode.
Oh.
And it has Kristen Chenoweth. Do you know who Kristen Chenoweth is?
Yeah.
She's from Oklahoma too.
She's from
She's
Oklahoma.
involved with that?
No. It's so stupid. Because she's a celebrity. And they were like, she's like, I was supposed to go to that camp. Blah, blah, blah. You know, so they were doing that like kind of thing where they're like...
It's a one cutaway to her, and then that's it. That's all we get.
No, but then it was like, they're talking about one of the victims, and she's like, did I know her? No. But I saw her in the hallway at school sometimes. And it's like, why are you trying to... I could have been...
Thanks, Kristen.
I was supposed to go on that trip, but I got sick. That could have been me. I'm like, no.
They found like they are stretching to put somebody with some clout in there.
Yeah,
Oy.
which sucks because other than that, it's a really good documentary. It just pisses me off that she's in it.
That's so funny.
And I love Kristen Chenoweth, but because I love Wicked, but
Kristen, she's doing her thing. Got to find work where it is.
Yeah, I guess. She's
Wherever
getting old.
she can.
She's getting old.
Danny, what about you?
The only movie I can think of is Jimmy and I started our newest franchise. Summer is officially kicked off. We watched Jaws.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I've watched that movie like 10 million times. It never gets old.
Yeah.
Even though it is kind of old. But, God, no, I love that. The funny thing is, though, this is not that funny. But I said it's funny, even though it's not. So I'm going to try to find a punchline here just to pay off that statement. I've never seen the sequels. So I'm like excited in a fun way, but also dreading it.
Yeah.
So
just wait until you get to Jaws 3D.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's a good movie, but I used to watch a lot as a kid and I'm very fond of it.
I was just listening to a podcast recently and they were talking about how I want to say it was Joe Dante who was at least in talks of directing part 3. And it was going to be more of like a spoof and he was going to call it Jaws 3 Humans or People Zero.
Oh, nice.
So
like score.
Like a little play on words. Yeah. Which I thought was really fun. And considering what I've heard about the Jaws franchise, how it kind of like it declines a little bit, I guess. It's like you may as well have just kind of like gone the parody route. But
right.
Teach their own. You do you, Jaws.
Did you not go see Crimes of the Future?
No, I didn't. It's still in theaters.
I thought Zach was going to go on Monday.
I don't know why.
I really wanted to go, and the day of that it was like, last Monday or whatever. And I was going to go, and I was just like in a mood, and I was almost like forcing myself to go because I was like, new David Cronenberg. It's in theaters. It's available. I got to go see it. And this is like my perfect opportunity. But for some reason, I just don't want to go. Yeah. And so I was like, fuck it. I'm not going to force myself because then I'm not going to like, what's the point? Why am I forcing myself to go? Just wait till I'm in the mood and ready to go and then go see it, or wait till it comes on TV or whatever. But
I hope that it streams soon. That we can. I hope we can rent it soon.
And I think that's the thing with me too is I want to go and see it with someone because every time I go to like reserve seats, there's either one other person or no one. And I don't want to go alone. Yeah. And I don't want to go with like one other like guy who's probably like yanking it in the back, like with his weird like violent sex porn on the screen.
I don't have anyone to go see movies with down here. It kind of sucks.
See, I like going to movies by myself. I enjoy it.
I don't.
I like going. It just depends. I feel like I want to like talk about it. I miss walking out of a movie and like talking about it.
And like standing by the exit for a few minutes and be like,
yes, I miss it so much.
Yeah.
They said that the movie theater is dying. It's like, you got to bring back the movie theaters. Well, I think we should bring back the movie theater friends.
Yeah. Yeah. Bring them back.
I think when you
Bring
buy a
back the
ticket,
movie
you should be
theater
able to
friends.
buy a friend for the night. It's like friendly entertainment movie prostitution.
It's like a little rental.
I was going to say that's called escorting.
It's a little rental.
escorting. Yeah, but it's like not.
It's called
it's
backpage.com.
just to have a buddy to go see a movie with. That's all.
Yeah.
They need
Yeah,
to
an
have
escort will do anything
And if you have
want.
sex, you have sex.
Yeah.
Call it
But
Be Kind, Rewind, My Behind.
so like escorts
I don't know
aren't
why. It just
legal
was the
like
most sexual I could.
everywhere. So like because there's like this implication of sex, but this is just a person that you rent their time and you say, hey, we're gonna go see Paddington 4.
Oh my God, dude.
I feel
That
like
would
even
be
if
my
this was a
dream
process, I'd still want to ask them though. I wouldn't want to tell them I was going to see it.
No, my
It
dream,
feels
my
wrong.
dream job would be, oh my God, if I could start a business going to movies with lonely men.
I mean, you
All right,
could.
Casey, I'm your first client.
That's amazing.
I'll fly you out.
That's amazing. Done. I don't care what we see. I don't care if we see Paddington 4. That sounds great. First one was adorable.
It does sound good. I love how we're skipping Paddington 3. Just going to Paddington.
Hey, man. Who knows when
You're
I'll
like,
be
we
able
don't
to get
talk
the
about
business up and
Paddington 3.
running, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Exactly.
It'll
Yeah,
take
you're
some time.
thinking logically.
Yeah.
That's smart.
But speaking
really
of
smart.
packed movie theaters, did anyone else find it weird that in this movie, The Final Girls, that the theater was packed?
Well,
Like
Yeah.
with these like what do they call them? Camp blood buddies or what do they call them?
Oh, yeah.
But either way, it seemed weird to me that was like a sold out theater. Like, have you ever gone to see like a classic movie in the movie theater? I went to see, well, I did see Jaws in the movie theater. I went to see Rocky when it was put back in the movie theater. I was the only one in the theater. Rocky.
Oh, my God.
yeah, but think about if they played the first Scream movie.
Yeah. I mean, I saw Friday the 13th, part 4 on Friday the 13th in a major city. And there was like a good, like, half dozen of us.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the thing too. Like, yeah, like a major city. And like, so you would think, okay, maybe in a major city, like Scream would be sold out. But like you said, half, maybe a dozen people in
Yep.
Friday the 13th, part 4.
And then the fact that they're treating the movie theater experience like a fucking rager. Like they're just like lighting up like blunts
who smokes
and taking
in
shots.
Yeah.
I know. I'd be the guy like sitting next to me like, can you blow that in the other direction, please? Like, kind of disrupting. Also, the fact that like we're all clearly like super fans, like you're killing the vibe, dude.
Yeah.
Like, let's watch the movie.
Yeah.
Smoke literally right before the movie starts.
And like, okay,
Well,
yeah,
then-
they could smuggle in like alcohol, like a little flask or something. We've done that before. But that dude had a full fucking bottle of like really flammable.
He just like
alcohol.
sets up a bar. It's like Tom Cruise and Cocktail. He's like taking orders. He's just like flipping drinks and
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they just have a good fan base of the blood bathers.
That's not what
That's
they're called,
fair.
right?
I know it's not
Did you
what
just
they're
make
called.
that up? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
you know, in trying to figure out the name of these things, this just popped in my head because we record this virtually on a camera, and I was just thinking, this is like random thought popped in my head about how summer camps like obviously probably just like they probably had to shut down during COVID, but they could have done virtual camps and they could have called them camps. So like cam and then a delay.
like a video camera. That's good.
That's where I'm at tonight, you guys. So we're gonna keep that going, that energy.
Oh, mathematicians.
Bathmaticians.
Really, mathematicians?
That's dumb.
Mathematicians.
Yeah, like mathematicians.
It's so like specifically about
Yes,
the
it should
bath.
be-
Like, they're really leaning.
It should
into the
just be
bath.
like blood bathers or something like that. That would be
Yeah.
way more appropriate.
Blood buddies,
Blood buddies, sure.
campers,
Campers, sure.
bloody campers, fucking mathematicians. I mean, no offense. It's. I mean, it's a fun pun. Like, or is it a pun? Whatever it is, whatever you want to call that. It's a fun nickname.
Yeah.
I love the play on words. I'm just trying to think of like the hierarchy of words within the title
Yeah.
that they
Like,
pulled from, and I feel like
it doesn't make
the
any
bath
sense.
was like the last the least horror from it, I guess.
Yeah.
My least favorite thing about this movie is the monster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With that being said, should we meet him?
Yeah, let's do it.
Since this is about meeting your monster, who is the real monster in this movie? Is it the sort of traditional, on-screen like movie villain that we meet, Billy, because he's like, the obvious hack and slash baddie that they have to face off against?
Because he's just Jason with a silly tribal mask.
Yeah. Or is the real monster Grief?
Well, Danny, we have a whole section for this at the end of the show.
But Danny wants to discuss the grief within this film, I think is what he's saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll talk about the real monster, but I'm talking about like the real monster, like, because I feel like that's the thing that really sets everything off. That's the thing that haunts our main character. That's what she's battling with. And that's like the only way she could like sort of escape this whole like bloodbath is by overcoming grief, as opposed to, because by the time she overcomes it, like spoiler alert, once she quote unquote becomes the final girl, she's sort of destined to beat the monster, the villain, Billy. So it's almost like as long as you just play by the rules, the monster is going to die. But in this case, like the real like antagonist that she has to truly face off against is like, I don't know, like how she deals with her mother's death. So grief.
Yeah. No, you nailed it. That's
hot dog. Nailed it.
Yeah, I guess since I didn't really like this movie, I honestly did not even
didn't even cross your mind.
No.
Casey's like, she was grieving?
What? Why was she upset?
Oh, and so, okay, so speaking of meeting the monster, because I know you were specifically referring to the kind of like Jason knockoff.
I was talking about how much I hate grief. That's exactly what I was talking about. My least favorite part about this movie is that people have to grieve.
Speaking of grief, no, I just wanted to point out that we have mentioned this in the past before about all of the horror movie villains named Billy.
Yes.
And this is just one more that we can add to the roster.
Yep.
I literally Googled it. If you Google it, there's a fandom, I think, page, I want to say, or like wiki page that tells you all the horror movie villains named Billy.
I can think of 4 right off the top of my head.
Let's do it.
Well, Scream, obviously. Black Christmas. Yeah. What's the Christmas one we did?
Silent Night, Deadly
His
Night.
name's Billy, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then this movie.
Yep. And then you have Saw, Billy the Puppet.
Saw.
Yeah.
You have Carrie, John Travolta's character.
Yeah.
And then there were some other ones.
Yeah, there's a ton.
Do you think that was any sort of homage to like Scream or anything like that? Because
it's such a specific thing. I feel like because they're doing so many riffs on slashers and the fact that I'm assuming that the filmmakers watched a lot of slashers and probably caught up on that trend too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. By the way, that should be a rule in one of the Scream movies. If your name is Billy, you're the killer. And not just because of Billy Loomis.
But this character, this monster, Billy Murphy, was clearly modeled after Cropsey in The Burning.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, because
actually, and even if you look at the poster in the opening for the sequel, Cruel Summer, it literally looks like the scissors coming down.
Yeah.
So what is The Burning's Cropsey?
The Burning, like it's almost like the same setup as this. He was like a camp maintenance guy, I think, and some of the campers were playing a prank on him, and it had to do with fucking like gasoline or something, which a prank that starts with gasoline can never end well. But
unless you're filling up their car as a joke.
That's what I was going to say. With the price of gas right now.
Your car's never going to break down for a while.
But yeah, so it goes wrong and he burns and he goes into like a comatose, or he's in the burn unit or something. And then he comes out and seeks revenge on the camp. Yeah. So the setup for Billy Murphy in this movie is basically the same, except he's in an outhouse and they throw firecrackers in. But
it's funny. I know, mind you, this is the kind of movie where you can get away with not having to explain the whole backstory and the motivation of the killer because it's kind of doesn't really matter.
I feel like it would have been better if they just poured gasoline on him and set him on fire.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to lie to you.
Like, was it supposed to be sort of a joke that it wasn't really that big of a deal?
I don't know. I don't know.
The joke is that he's so, like, violent and, like, disfigured as a result of, like, firecrackers.
Yeah,
that's a lot of fucking firecrackers.
Oh, yeah, but it would burn. It would burn his calves. It was like a string of firecrackers. It wasn't like bottle rockets and stuff that, like, it wasn't fireworks.
Maybe it fell on his head.
What if the killer only, instead of like wearing a mask, he just wore like shin guards to like cover his scars? They're like, oh no, it's
and they just show shots of his feet throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, and you wonder why, but it's like it's only because that's the only scarred part of his body.
And on the top, he's just like a normal guy wearing like a sports jacket. What if like it was still like a whodunit and they're trying to figure out who the killer is, and there's like a thing kind of sequence where they're testing, but they all have to like
lift their legs,
like,
their
who
pant legs
doesn't
up.
wear shorts? They're like, wow, I noticed Billy always wears pants during heat waves, and he's like, what?
No, they hit him with a baseball bat. They're all wearing shin guards and they just go and like crack everybody's shins.
Yes. And he has like a delayed like, oh, they're like, wait a minute, that wasn't real.
Well, I love that Casey just said, I wish they would have just set him on fire.
I do.
Like, I just pictured that flashback scene where they're like, hey, Billy. And he's like, leave me alone. And they're like, hey, Billy's been in the outhouse for a long time. And the one kid comes out, like the counselor comes out and he goes, I know how to get him out of there. And he just douses the whole thing in gasoline.
How about a fucking half a stick of dynamite?
Yeah.
Come on. Trick. Like, firecrackers aren't doing anything.
Oh, gosh.
You know what would have been really fun is if to get him out they like poured a bunch of like rats in the outhouse.
Oh no, then he just turned into Willard. That's a totally different movie.
Well, that's what I was thinking of Willard. And what if every time like he's coming because you see like rats crawling out? It's like, oh shit, Billy's here.
I love Willard.
Me too. Oh, Billy, Willie. It's kind of there's something. What his name is? Maybe Billy's short for Billard.
It's short for William.
Oh yeah, but Casey, you had mentioned his mask earlier, and I don't like it.
No.
I don't like it.
No. They're like, he made a mask. Like, Billy didn't fucking make this mask. Billy did not make this mask. Billy would have grabbed a fucking potato sack, just like Jason did, and put it on his head.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't go that route. Because, like, if you do have some... Because it was such, like, a specific look, you'd think there'd be some sort of...
He could have been anything. He should have worn a fucking... He could have put a fucking scarf around his head and a babushka on or something like that. Would have been better than his fucking mask.
A babushka.
Yeah.
Well, do they mention... Because I know, like, the idea is that Billy was supposed to be sort of isolated and didn't have friends. But did they say that he was, like... Was an indoor kid, kind of, like... Maybe like really into arts and crafts and stuff.
I don't think they mentioned.
No, they just
like
said
that.
Billy made a mask, and then it showed him at a table making this weird fucking mask.
Yeah, but the whole point is like like he's just kind of a plot device. He doesn't really need to be anybody fleshed out. It could have been. Yeah. He could have been even less. They didn't even have to give him as much detail as they did.
Yeah,
and it still would have worked. So I don't know.
So we give it a pass.
Give him a pass.
I don't.
Casey does it. 2 out of 3 co-hosts on the How I Met Your Monster podcast say we give it a pass.
Billy gets a pass.
He's terrorizing a fictional camp called Camp Bluefinch in a fictional movie called Camp Bloodbath.
Mm-hmm. And our main characters go to the movies to see it. And why do they go? And why? Well, why does our main character go, who is not even a fan of these movies?
Because she's grieving.
Well,
because
she gets
their mother.
Because what?
Well, no. So okay, our main character Max, her mom was the star of this show, Maybe not even a star because she gets killed in the movie. That's like the whole point of it.
And also we should mention this is like a grindhouse B movie, like slasher that clearly like its fan base is, it's a very like niche little, cult fan base.
And so Duncan, played by, is it Tom Middleditch?
Thomas Middleditch, yeah.
He is so funny. He's got a improv show on Netflix with what's his name, Ben Schwartz.
Oh my god, I love Ben Schwartz.
It is so funny, so funny.
I have to check.
But anyways, so he comes into the diner and he's putting on a Camp Bloodbath marathon. I think it's just 1 and 2. And since Max is the daughter of one of the stars who is now deceased because of a car crash at the beginning of the movie, he says, you need to make an appearance. She says, no, I'm not going to do it. And he pulls like the fucking
dirtiest,
skeeviest thing. And he says, you do it and I'll do your fucking homework basically for the rest of the year.
Yeah. He was horrible.
Yeah.
Like if you really think about it, like that is like beyond, like that's like straight up evil.
Like he had no,
like I'm going to force you to watch your dead mother that you're still grieving over in a movie so that I can get you for a Q&A.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise you're fucked in school because I know you're not going to pass.
Yep.
That's some nasty ass, like that's some serial killer shit without a knife. Like
also, I would like to point out what's the name of the blonde guy?
Chris?
Yeah, Chris is not a tutor. Okay.
Why?
That's Zach, you know why.
Just because of the way he looks?
Zach, you know why.
Just because of the way he looks. You think he's a big dumb jock?
Oh no, I didn't say he was a big dumb jock. He's just not a tutor. You can think whatever you like about that statement. He's not a tutor.
Wait, what do you mean? You're saying because he looks like that, he can't be smart?
No, I'm saying that he wouldn't be nice.
You don't know that.
I know, I'm just fucking around. Look at me. I'm beautiful and nice. And also smart.
But speaking of tutoring, there's a great line when they're at the table in the diner, and he's talking about, because they're learning about, like, I think the class is called Classics, and it's like about ancient
classics,
gods and Greek gods and stuff. Yes. But he says one of the things from the story, he says, just keep looking forward or we'll be here forever. And that's like part of whatever they're learning. And I was like, yes, because they're going to go into the movie. And if they don't keep moving forward and changing, things are just going to be stuck there.
Well, it's the same with grief. If she doesn't keep moving forward with her grief, she'll be stuck there.
Exactly. Good point. Good point.
Okay, look, guys, I contributed. See, I'm smart.
Thank you, Casey.
You're welcome, Danny.
So at this point, we're well aware that the main, like, the gist of this movie, the whole concept is about these kids there's obviously like this fire, and to escape, they rip open the screen. They try to escape through the screen and end up entering into the movie world, which is very much like the classic Arnold Schwarzenegger action comedy, Last Action Hero.
Yes.
But I thought what was interesting, maybe not interesting, just an observation that I made was that the rules within this fictional world are a little different. And we kind of like touched on it earlier, where in this world, well, I'll say in the Last Action Heroes world, there is like a living, breathing world in there with people and with their own lives and identities and like governments and currencies. And like it is happening, which kind of like suggests that movies are sort of part of this like multiverse, and we're just like capturing like highlights and moments within movies. Whereas in this world, and in that one, you can actually, the characters can leave and then come into ours, which kind of doubles down on that whole like multiverse thing. Whereas in this movie, I was trying to, and again, there doesn't need to be an answer, but I was just kind of wondering like where this world comes from. Is it just from her? Did it exist even if she wasn't grieving? Because it doesn't there isn't really this living, breathing world. These characters are sort of stuck almost like in a hell setting, if you think about it, where you're like, you're stuck in the setting. It replays. There's no escape. Your fates are mostly kind of preset and predetermined. Yeah. So I basically just was curious, like, what your guys' thoughts on what this world is and how it was conceived.
Well, that's where
what the rules are.
When the ending came along, I wanted there to be like a little bit more of an answer, because they come out of the thing and I was like, okay, they were just right when they wake up in the hospital. It's like, oh, they just got out of the movie theater and they, whatever, they were taken to the hospital for being in the accident. But then Duncan opens up his shirt and he's got the scar from the machete, and they all know everything. I'm like, what the fuck? And then they're like they're still like in the movie because they're in part 2. And so there's really no explanation about, was it in her head? Was
did
something
they die in
on?
the fire? Are they in hell?
Whoa, yeah.
Oh,
or they're just like in a loop, just like in the movie. And because she was like unwilling to incapable of like overcoming grief.
She died.
I'm trying to think because all these, well, I guess she didn't deserve it. Cause I mean, like, God, you're like grieving over a family member. Like that's totally
no, but she took her grief with her.
She took her grief with her. And maybe all the other characters, maybe that's why all these other characters were painted as being so like unlikable, like her old friend, because maybe if they were going to die, they were going to hell. And it just so happened that they died together, and her grief sort of like manifested itself as their hell that they were trapped in.
Maybe Max died in the car crash with her mom.
That doesn't make any sense, Zach.
Why not?
Because then how is she invited to? Why is she invited to the movie theater?
It was all
you could say
dream.
that she died in the crash.
Max used to read Word Up magazine. Sorry.
Well, maybe her afterlife, whether it's heaven, hell, purgatory, maybe it's a purgatory, is where like of all the people that she would be friends with, it's people who are big fans of the movie that her mom not only starred in, but was trying to escape. Like she hated that part of her past. So here she is, she's stuck in this like circle. She's being dragged to these screenings and then dies in a fire in that world. So like, she's almost like being like sucked deeper and deeper into her purgatory.
Oh my God. This got fucking dark.
Yeah. But maybe because she was able, maybe really deep down, this is almost like Dante's Inferno in a way, where like she is stuck in hell and there are layers, or in this case, sequels, and she has to basically overcome this grief so that she could fight her way through the sequels in order to get to like a less intense layer of hell and like closer to
But
heaven.
what happens when they defeat Billy Murphy again in part 2? Then where do they go?
Well, then I feel like they would just go to another maybe sequel, or maybe because there's only 2 entries, maybe at that point, that's all she needs to accomplish before she can exit this purgatory.
Okay.
So she needs to hopefully have seen Scream 2 so that she can understand the rules of a sequel and then defeat Billy again, or whoever the killer is in this one, because he is decapitated.
You know what this sounds like?
What?
This sounds like the How I Met Your Monster conspiracy theory of the week.
Oh, yeah, it does. Hit it.
You're telling me that NASA is going to kill the President of the United States with an earthquake.
Not exactly the kind of thing a Secret Service agent can, just throw himself on top of. The whole Vietnam War was fought over a bet that Howard Hughes lost to Aristotle Onassis. This is our 3rd issue this year. Conspiracy theory.
Do you know what is one of the funniest things in this movie?
What?
They get into the movie, right? And they're just there on the side of the road and the van keeps passing. And someone says, "This is a dream. I know it's a dream." And Duncan says, "If it is a dream, my dad is about to come up to us naked and offer us some pecan pie. But don't take any. It is not pecan pie." And then like his half sister like pukes, or his stepsister just like, what?
I love that girl too.
Yeah. She plays is her name Maybe on Arrested
Yes.
Development?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
She's also
so funny.
Have you guys ever seen Workaholics? Or not Workaholics, I'm sorry, that's what Adam Devine is in. Have you guys ever seen Broad City?
Mm-hmm.
So
I've seen it, but I've never really just
oh my
watched
gosh.
it.
So Alana is the girl from Broad City that has like curly hair. So there's an episode of Broad City where she meets that girl and they are super like sexually attracted to each other because they look exactly the same.
That's so funny.
But they don't understand that that's why. So they're like hooking up all the time and stuff like that. And then at one point they look at each other and they're like, oh my God, we look exactly alike. We can't see each other anymore.
Speaking of that, there's this sort of like stereotype with gay men specifically where like a lot of gay men like will only date guys that look like them. So it's like kind of suggesting that all gay men are just so conceited and vain. Yeah. So I've always been like so grateful and proud of the fact that Cody and I couldn't look more like less alike if we tried. So yeah, just a little tangent I wanted to jump into. That I am not vain for that reason.
Okay, all right.
I am
just
only
for that,
vain for other
just
reasons.
For that reason. Okay.
Yeah.
But the first time she, so they get in the van. The first time that that Max sees her mom, her character is Nancy in the van. Oh God, it just breaks your fucking heart. It just because like that's her mom, like. You know, she's interacting with her mom for the first time since her death. And it's just
and her mom doesn't know that.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Yeah, there's like layers of just like, fuck.
Yeah.
It's so dark.
Yeah.
And Taysa Farmiga is just, she's so good at she has these expressions, or it's really not, I'm not trying to like say she only has this one expression, but she does have this look that she's mastered, where it is like she is just feeling so many emotions and you just see it in her eyes, and it's so painful to look at because it's so like you can just like feel her hurt, and she has that in that moment. So it just sells that scene so much more.
Yeah.
Her mom in the movie is named Nancy, and there's also Tina, who is another character in the movie, and
she's the MVP. She's so good.
Nancy and Tina in
Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah, I didn't realize that until you said both their names together.
But oh God, when she gets the oven mitts on.
Yeah.
I was dying when she does her like Adderall like striptease.
Yep.
Like genuinely cracking up. I was like, she's putting on a performance in this movie, and she is committed. It works. It pays off so well. It was genuinely like the funniest part.
It is good.
I read on our trusted trivia source, IMDb, that she just like drank a whole bunch of energy drinks and stuff before that
That's so funny.
scene. So she was just crazy, but who knows if that's true.
That must have been so hard to to act alongside, because throughout the movie, like even when you meet her, she's already like high energy and like wild. She takes the whole bottle of Adderall. It's like just like a cartoon level of comedy.
Then I love that she goes back in the house and she fucking trips and her head just goes into that fucking bear trap.
Yeah.
All because she's like so desperate to get away from the killer, and she like fucks up the plan only to die anyways.
Yep.
So good.
Like immediately.
Yeah.
Oh man. But okay, so the movie's called Final Girls, The Final Girls. In the movie, they say that the final girl is Paula, who shows up a little bit into the movie, and they say, oh, Paula's here. She's the final girl in Camp Bloodbath. So we just got to stick with her and we're good to go. She gets out of the car, and you're thinking to yourself, if you know anything about slasher movies, you're thinking, this character of Paula does not fit the mold of a quote unquote final girl.
She does not.
No.
She's not the type of person that usually ends up living. And so then like as things are hitting the fan and she's driving away and she blows up, it's like, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So we haven't yet talked about Kurt.
Who's Kurt?
Adam Devine.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He is so funny.
He's very funny.
Oh, my God.
Did you watch the blooper reel?
Yeah.
When he said, all of my bones are broken but one. And she like looks down. He's like, no, I'm not talking about my dick. It's like, that's like split in half. Talking about my arm.
So if you notice, that was it was like in the blooper reel, but it wasn't part of the movie that you're seeing like bloopers from.
Right. That was part of the end.
Yeah, that was part of the ending that they filmed, and test audiences like didn't care for it. Yeah. So they filmed a different ending, and test audience didn't care for that either. So they just kind of like mixed them together.
Huh.
Do you know what was the original ending?
Again, going back to our trusted trivia source, it says the original ending featured Max and Chris waking up in the hospital as the only survivors. It was deemed too much of a downer, so the director scripted and shot a new ending in which their friends survived too. Both endings tested poorly, so the scene utilized in the final cut of the movie is a mashup of moments from both versions.
But that doesn't have what's his name. He wasn't their friend.
Yeah.
Now,
True.
This is just a personal opinion. I think the ending works. It's fun. It's nice to see the characters return. But I do feel like that's the one thing I get frustrated with like audience kind of dictating sort of how a movie plays out ultimately during like test screenings. Because the movie, even though it is like a horror comedy and it really delves into silly scenarios, like bordering slapstick sometimes, which kind of works like with the movie within the movie, I feel like it has earned the right to have a dark ending because it's sort of like the foundation of everything is so dark. You know, you have like, it's really just about a girl grieving about her mother. Yeah. And all the silliness is just sort of like based on like the specific circumstances they find themselves in. So it's like end on a dark note, like, because she survived. Like, you don't have to end on a joke necessarily. You can, it's fine, but
I'm going to say most people who watch it probably weren't looking for anything deep and profound that you've discussed in this episode.
But I feel like that's what could have been the subversion that could have like made it. And I'm not saying it's not memorable. I know people love this movie, and I'm not even trying to say like they should have done one way or the other, but I feel like they could have done it. And I feel like they could have stood out. The movie could have stood out because of that, you know, because it's sort of going against the grain.
Well, it all comes down to money, you know, which is a shame because like you said, like they want the best ending that's going to make the most people tell everybody else to go see this movie because it's great. And so then you get into those test screenings and they say, oh, we don't like this change. And so that the studios are like, oh, you got to change it. Which just sucks.
I think test screenings in general are just frustrating because I feel like if you ask someone to be open to criticizing, they're going to find something to criticize.
Right. Yeah.
So you may not be getting the most genuine, you know, knee-jerk reaction to something, but it's like, oh, well, now that you mention it, I guess I could find something. So
right.
That's just
it's like,
annoying.
the ending probably wasn't my favorite, but
they're not considering everything like, you know, like people are, you know, these filmmakers are spending so much time like crafting a story and like how A leads to B and B leads to C, but then someone just has like, oh, I didn't like that. So all of a sudden you change it and it sort of has the potential to sort of crumble like the whole point of like what the story was supposed to be in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Can we all just take a moment to appreciate that the name of their plan to catch Billy was called the Booby Trap?
Operation Booby Trap.
Operation Booby Trap. And she had to show her boobs for him to appear.
Yeah, that was good. That was very good.
I love that. Because like, it didn't click. I saw the chalkboard and I was like, okay, booby trap. Yeah, they're setting booby traps. And then like once she like raises her bra or whatever, I was like, oh,
do you get it? You get it? Boobies.
Yeah, another hard moment, which I don't know. I mean, it wasn't like super tough to watch, but it was just like gut wrenching, is when her mom in the movie, Nancy, finds out she's going to get killed in that movie. Yeah. And like, that's like her whole world is this movie. That's all she knows. And she thinks she thinks that she's going to like, you know, she has that thing. Oh, I thought I was going to grow up and have kids and this and that. But she's like they're like sitting by that tree and she's just like, I'm going to die like probably tonight.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's just so wild.
There was a part where somebody grabbed hands and I cried.
Yeah.
That's all I remember about the part.
Okay.
Was it the mom and was it Max and Nancy?
I mean, it must have been.
I'm trying to imagine the scene.
Yeah. Oh, no. I think it was when Gertie and Vicky
Oh,
get
yes, it
killed
was. Yes.
by the bookcase, and the bookcase falls on him, and then he stabs them, and she's
Yeah.
They
just
like accept their fate.
Yeah.
yeah, and she's
Vicky
like,
says, "Just go."
and she holds her hand.
That was an emotional scene. That
I
was
definitely
like,
cried.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
because we were like coming off of like such a comedic moment.
Yeah.
Like they have the whole
Yeah.
movie trap setup montage. They have like 4 people, well, maybe not, at the time, like 2 people just brutally murdered.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But it's still sort of played for laughs. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
I loved that. That was a real, that hit hard.
Yeah.
Because Vicky is basically making up for the fact that she's been a terrible person.
Yeah.
Which is sad that thinking that you're going to die is when you decide to apologize to people. But whatever.
I will say one thing that I really liked about this movie that I could have used more of. Again, anytime I say these things, I'm not like criticizing the movie. I'm just saying I liked it so much that you like give me more if you wanted to. I feel like it would too much. More would not have been too much. Basically, is when they really play into the sort of mechanics of living within the movie. Like when they like the flashback sequence and like the whole room starts dripping.
Oh yeah.
And the flashback having text like a subtitle that's physically there, so
I
like
did
the
like
cards
that.
are hitting into it.
Yeah.
Like those part in the slow motion, they comment on and they're even talking in slow motion.
Yeah. What's
I
happening?
could have used like freaking if they just went so much further into that, I would have had so much fun with it, because that's like the type of excess in this type of movie where it's like, just like lean into it, like give me more, because it was done so well, I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, because like, the title will come on, it'll say like summer 1957, and it just looks like text. But then when they cut back to it and the camera moves, you see like that they're like big letters,
and they're like walking over it.
Yeah.
One of my favorite parts of that, like examples of that, was at the very end after she chops Billy's head off and the credits start playing, like rolling in the background. And it was like such like just visually, it was just beautiful to look at. You have like this great landscape shot and like these yellow like text credits coming down. So yeah, I was on board for more of that if they had I don't know what else they could have done, but I thought what they did perfectly. I do want to mention something about, they really lean into slasher movie stereotypes. And there's something that always frustrates me. And it's the fact that, now mind you, if you don't want to have sex, don't have sex. You want to be a virgin? Be a virgin. But there is like that sort of like running sort of cliche that if you have sex, you die. If you have drugs, you die, et cetera, et cetera. That is some capital B bullshit, because these are basically just like showing us it's not that the victims are like guilty of anything. It's the fact that we're kind of highlighting the fact that the killer is this sort of like self-righteous asshole who's punishing people based on their morals and their ideals. Also like using violence to sort of like prove that they are better than them, when actually murder is a much greater sin than
No. Premarital sex
or drinking.
No.
Yeah. So I just want that on the record that it's
Danny,
an annoying...
A sin is a sin. It doesn't matter what it is. They're all looked at the same.
But it's weird
What's
because
the number one
I understand
deadly sin, though?
No.
Murder?
I don't know. But no, I'm like legitimate. The church, like when I grew up learning about Jeebus, all sins are the same.
Wait, is that really how they look at it?
That's what I was told.
Oh my God.
Like you can put a finger in your butt. That's a sin. It's just as bad as fucking murdering the homeless guy down the street.
Wait, putting a finger in your butt is a sin?
I think pleasure in general is a sin, isn't it?
I don't know.
Masturbating is a sin, isn't it?
Yeah. Masturbating is a sin. Gays are sinners.
Do you think like when they started doing that whole trope, it was like they didn't start to do it because it's like, oh, let's teach these people a lesson. I think it was just like, hey, we want to get butts in the seats, so let's put some boobies in this movie.
That's what I think. And I think, yeah. I think it was just misinterpreted, to be honest.
Originally, if you go back to like Friday the 13th, that was for a purpose. That was because part of the reason she's so pissed is that they were supposed to be watching her son and they were fucking instead.
Right.
Totally.
You know what I mean? So,
yeah,
that's a good point. Yeah.
And then, and then I guess like the cliche kind of like grew from that.
Yeah. I would say that's probably where the first of it started.
That's a good point. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could argue like Halloween plays with the whole like virginal hero, but Laurie we just don't, I don't know. I mean, she is sort of like the quote unquote like bookworm and sort of, but she's just as willing, it seems, if not in a little bit more of an introverted way, to sort of engage in these activities as her friends are. She just happens to be working that night and she's a little bit quieter, but she wants to date, Ben Tramer. She wants to do all these things. So yeah, I just feel like all these interpretations were just kind of like taken the wrong way.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I totally agree with you about Friday the 13th and how like there's actually a motive there and it isn't, based out of some like stereotype or anything.
Yeah.
Which is why Friday the 13th is a great movie and Mrs. Voorhees is a hero.
So how about this song, Betty Davis Eyes?
Oh, yeah.
I don't understand why it's a mother-daughter song, that's for sure.
Well, I don't know. Like, does it have to be a mother-daughter song? It's just a song that they connected over.
Okay. It's their song.
Yeah.
It's one of those songs. It's like a pop song that there's something like melancholy about it. And I wonder if that's why they chose it. I don't know. Can't quite put my finger on what it is that feels like, but there's like a nostalgia. There's something about it. I don't know. It feels appropriate for it. Even though like Casey, what you said, it actually isn't appropriate in terms of like lyrics for a mother and daughter.
Yeah. Did you notice that? Of course you noticed. It's like the fucking point of the movie.
Did you notice the movie?
Did you notice this movie?
So when Max has to eventually become the final girl in this new version of this movie, she does the same thing that many of these final girls do in these horror movies, where all of a sudden they're just like a badass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, she was
it's
given strength basically by her mom getting killed again.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
She was, because she gave her, she gave her the official final girl title, basically.
Right. I guess I think of like Nightmare on Elm Street 4 is one that comes to mind. Where Alice is like this.
Gets
really
her karate gear on and shit. Well,
yeah.
If you want to say karate gear. She puts a bandana on.
Yeah. Well, she puts his bandana and she's got like the
she puts on gloves.
Belt with the fucking studs and the thing.
Does she inherit any actual powers in that movie, or is that just a turn that she makes?
No, she's supposed to like get the powers of everybody.
Okay.
Yeah. So she's like becoming like a superhuman person.
Okay.
But yeah, she's so soft spoken, and then by the end she's like a badass, and it's kind of this same thing where she's like quiet and depressed, and, and then she's
she
like,
kept saying, "I can't do this. I can't."
She even like spins that machete, like she like twirls it around.
Yeah,
yeah. It's not just like Alice, because it's clearly like a riff on like Friday the 13th, cutting Mrs. Voorhees' head off. She does like this, like she's got like hand, she's like spinning it around and flipping it.
Yeah, and he throws the knife, and she like slides on her knees under it, slow motion style. Yeah, so do you guys want to talk about our favorite reveals real quick?
Sure.
Let's freaking do it.
So, I mean, Billy pops up a few times here and there. There's a good one when we first see him. You see his feet step into frame, his boots.
And his battered shins.
Yeah. And I guess I'm talking, this is like when they're in the movie, because you do see him like in the trailer and all that stuff at the beginning.
Yeah.
But then, so he steps into frame, and then he's right behind that like that random hiker who they're about to have like sex, and he like crushes his head or breaks his neck or something.
Yeah.
You do get a fun reveal in the window when Gertie is like by herself downstairs, and he's standing out in the window. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's the booby trap reveal where she's dancing and he comes out of the fog, which that one was really cool because just the way it was shot, it's like you're looking from the room out into the fog, and then they're
that's
looking
like
from
the first real
fog back
time
into
that
the room.
Yeah. That's the first time like our characters are truly like confronting Billy too. So if you wanted to count that as like an official intro. Well, I'm going to cheat because that's just how I roll. And since I had mentioned earlier that I think grief is the real monster and that grief is manifested through the movie, I'm going to say that when they walk through the movie screen is when they're introduced to the monster.
Ooh, okay.
Because it's supposed to represent grief.
Okay.
Good one.
I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to go. Oh, there's also the one at the end when they find out they're in the sequel.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
that
true.
That one was kind of cool.
That was cool, yeah, because it wasn't
that's
expected.
True.
But
because that's probably not Billy. That could be a different killer for all we know. Unless he sawed his head back on. Sewed his head back on? Sewed his head back on. He got his head sewed off and then sawed it back on.
But I'm going to go with the booby trap reveal. Just because of the way it was shot. I thought it was whatever lens they were using. It was like looking out this way and then the reverse looking back into the thing. And you kept seeing the look on her face as she's like doing this dance. She knows like she's getting down to the part where she has to like reveal herself. She's like, he's going to come out of those shadows as soon as I do this. And then sure enough, he's there out of the fog. I thought that was cool.
That was fun.
That was fun.
So now it's time for a segment that I like to call The Real Monster.
Run, run, run as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man.
You're a monster.
I'm not the monster here. You are. You and the rest of that fairy tale trash poisoning my perfect world. Now tell me, where are the others?
Eat me.
Casey, what's your real monster?
Billy's mask.
Why?
Casey saw so much more potential and was not. She was let down.
I mean, I do love, the way that, I don't know, I like masks and I like, it's funny because I since we watched Nightbreed, it's weird. Keep randomly just thinking about how cool his freaking mask was.
Decker's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how they did not utilize it properly.
Decker's mask?
Just because he could have been like an iconic slasher on his own if the movie were just his. You know what I mean? That's what I mean.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Yep.
They could have given Billy that mask.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't. Instead, he whittled a fucking mask. He wore a giant wooden block on his face.
I'm trying to think of what it looked like because
it looked like a tiki man.
It would have made sense for it to be like a paper mache mask or something.
It was a freaking tiki man.
I'm trying to think of like what would be associated with a camp.
You really want Billy to be like involved in arts and crafts.
Yeah, and he just wasn't that kid.
No, I just know me, and like I was like the kid who didn't want to hang out with everyone, and I would have wanted to do arts and crafts.
Yeah, that's who I was too.
Yeah, that's why we're all on this podcast together. We were all that kid.
That's right.
We were all Billy. We were all Billy pre firecrackers.
I think my real monster is, I'm going to say jealousy.
Jealousy.
Because.
Hey, jealousy.
Exactly.
Hey, jealousy.
No, because when Chris and Vicky break up, and then Chris is at the movies with Max, and Vicky pulls up with like that random guy that she clearly just used to like to make an appearance with him, and then like they're like, "Oh yeah, where did he go?" And just he got sick like all of a sudden.
He got sick like really. He got really sick really fast, and she goes, "Oh, not really sick really fast."
That's good.
And I mean, yeah, people do stupid shit when they're jealous. So jealousy is my real monster.
All right,
that's a good one.
Still not as bad as Billy's mask, but
true. Danny, what do you got?
My real monster was Max putting her foot on the like the dashboard with like the airbag. That's just dangerous.
Especially because you knew that they were going to get into a car accident.
Yeah. You put your feet up on that car and you get into a fender bender or an accident. Your feet are gone.
She'd be wearing shin splints forever.
Yep.
Yeah. They would never
this
be
movie
able to tell who the killer was.
Shins. Oh, that could have been their like bond where like her shins were affected in the crash and Billy's shins were affected by the firecrackers.
Yeah.
And
so instead of killing him at the end, they have like a moment.
She pulls up her jeans. He takes off his shin guards and there's like a tear.
Yeah. Perfect.
Oh, that could have been like what ended the movie, because it's like that's not how it's supposed to end. And talk about subverting expectations. This could have turned into like this movie where like they actually reclaim his innocence.
Yeah.
And she could
And then
take him out of the movie world and like get his shins fixed.
And then
It's
she
like
wakes up
Pretty
and her
Woman
mom's alive.
for Billy Murphy.
Yes.
She
Oh,
takes him
what?
shopping. It's like Pretty Woman.
He walks into a store like holy man. He's like, you just made a huge mistake. Huge mistake.
And then he fucking cuts her head off.
Yeah. And it's Billy with the mask and everything, but he's so confident now. He wears like his short shorts that we mentioned last episode.
For sure.
Like just showing off his battered legs.
Yeah.
So do you guys have anything else to add about the Final Girls?
No.
Not really.
Okay, well then that is all the time we have. If you have anything else to add, let us know. Send us a tweet at howimetyourmonster or find us on Facebook and Instagram at howimetyourmonster. And if you're feeling generous,
If you're feeling
generous?
generous,
Can you tell? Is that Sean Connery?
Sean Connery.
generous.
If you're feeling generous,
Oh, that's
open the
good.
door if you're staying.
Who could that be, Casey? Who is it?
It looks like Sean Connery.
Is that Sean Connery?
I think Sean Connery is
Yes.
risen from the grave. Oh,
Not unlike this movie, I was able to exit the 2000 feature film Finding Forrester. And in doing so, I've come here with one purpose in life. And that is to help the How I Met Your Monster podcast promote themselves and to ask you to rate them on ratethispod.com. We're looking for 5 stars. 5 stars.
you
Thank
forgot
you,
the
Sean.
/monster, Sean. Rate this
Go to
podcast.com /monster.
Visit ratethispodcast.com / How I Met Your Monster.
It's just monster.
Visit ratethispodcast.com /monster and give us 5 stars, please. I've said my piece. I will
Thank
enter
you.
my movie yet again
Well, thank you, Sean.
and live out my life in the movie world within Finding Forrester.
Well, thank you, Sean. It was
Thank
a
you,
lovely
Mr.
visit.
Connery. Wow,
You're welcome.
amazing.
You're the man now, dog.
Wow, well, that was a lovely visit.
Yeah. that
Wow,
was-
Sean Connery.
I was not expecting him.
I wish I had a chance to talk to him while he was here. I was just
Oh,
so
yeah,
like
you had just,
Yeah,
spellbound.
like,
Danny, you
stepped
just
out.
missed him.
Yeah, to go to the
I was
bathroom
like,
or
oh, I
whatever.
walked out, and it's funny because right before we started recording, I had mentioned the fact that like if I could meet one celebrity, living or dead, it'd be Sean Connery. And
Yeah, for some reason
Now
I
you're
feel like
telling
you
me he
guys
was
will
on-
never be in the same room together.
damn it,
Yeah.
it's just
Same.
such is life.
Well, maybe next time. And make sure to join us next episode where we will be discussing the 1998 slasher I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Nice.
And it's fun. It's kind of a classic. I'd call it a classic.
I would 100% call it a classic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to be checking that out. So if you're a fan of the movie or if you haven't seen it yet, watch it and listen to us talk about it.
Yeah.
And as always, thank you all for listening. Now go meet some monsters.